We're going to be checking out this completely sane and safe video about Coca-Cola from BlueJay. How to start a soda company. I don't know nearly as much as I think BlueJay probably does about Coca-Cola and some of its history. What I do know is they used a legal argument in court of you have no jurisdiction over us because our literal murder squads were in a different country. They hired death squads. This is not a joke. This is probably more than that. So what I know is probably the safe for work version. Let's find out just how much else there is. Don't you just love these happy videos about beloved institutions? I know I sure do. Oh, God. Joking aside, I'm actually kind of freaked out just knowing what I do and how there's probably more about to happen. So let's just see where this goes, because I'm sure it's perfectly fine. And let me know if you get a Coca-Cola at any time during this video, because the irony will not be lost. Toledo? I mean, psychiatric hospital in Toledo makes sense. Just I'm surprised Toledo came up at all. If you're wondering where that is, think of Detroit and then about an hour south.
Today's the day, Alex. You think I'm ready, Doc? I know you're ready, son. Come on. I don't know if I can trust myself out there, Doc. What if he... I'm terrified of... I'm still insane. You're not insane, my boy. You're human. One that has experienced far more trauma than any should. And as humans, we manifest our own unique ways to cope with excess stress. Yours, of course, being vivid avian hallucinations. I know this. I know. You're a smart boy. You've heard all this already. But it's important that in our darkest moments we remind ourselves...
Is he going to hallucinate he's an actual bird? If that's the joke they're going for here, I'm actually going to laugh.
...of what we know to remain calm. And what do we know, Alex?
Actually, I'm just going to look. Is this related to cyanide and happiness? Nope, it doesn't look like there's... Whoa, there's a lot of links. Holy shit. I don't see anything for cyanide and happiness. So no, they're just doing the style really well.
That I'm strong, yes. That I am in control, yes. And that there's no such thing as giant omnipotent bird demigods. You're ready. Susan, help Alex check out, would you? Thank you. For everything. You did all the work, Alex. I just handed you a wrench. I'll see you again soon for our checkups, alright? Right, of course. Alright, honey, I'll just need you to sign right here. Sure thing. $123,000!
I'm going to say something that might piss people off. That might be cheap. I hate everything I just said because I'm not entirely sure it's a joke.
Is this right? You needed a lot of help. A lot of help that your insurance deemed non-essential.
Yeah.
No, this can't be right. Surely there are some discounts for extended stays or fees that can be waived, or perhaps some charges that...
The easiest way to deal with it is to be broke. And they can try and sue you, and then spend money, and then realize, oh yeah, shit, he doesn't have to appear because nothing will happen. This is the thing.
Be forgiven? That's quite a bit of medical debt you got there, Alex. No, the pills! Give me the pills! Oh, how I've missed you, buddy. You can't be here! You're not supposed to be here!
It literally is just Zinch. It's a blue-themed bird who fucks around with everything and seems to know everything. Oh god, it's actually Zinch. I was reading a comment on chat who was talking about it. It's like, oh, no. That fits. That actually fits. Valerian, what the fuck is wrong with the U.S. healthcare system? Or for psychology, it's not considered healthcare. So it can be denied easily. That should have changed under Obamacare, but also it kind of didn't because lobbying. And there's more bullshit there, and I don't want to get into it.
My good old pal's release day from the psych ward, I would never. And good thing I didn't, because that's a pretty penny you owe there, Alex. But hey, while 123K sounds like a lot, Coca-Cola makes that much every 1 minute and 25 seconds. Cool!
How long ago has this been made? So this was in this is only March 31st? Okay, I was expecting that to be a lot higher number. Wait, did he say every second or every minute?
Sounds like a lot. Coca-Cola makes that much every 1 minute and 25 seconds.
So a minute 30. Huh.
Cool. I don't own Coca-Cola. No, but you do own Alexicola. LLC. No more adventures. Can I just do some kind of payment plan? We also accept payment in the form of organs and or firstborn children.
See, that's a lie. They don't value children nearly high enough to give you money for that.
I own the hospital, Alex. Just kill me. Later. But first, we're gonna dive into the propaganda-driven, diabetes-given, controversy-ridden history of the soft drink business to teach you how to run a soda company.
When you realize that original Coca-Cola was made with Coke. And that was probably the most honest they ever were. Actual video of actual real-life BlueJay.
First things first, I'm gonna need you to put on this little hat. What? Just real quick, come on.
Is that a buzzsaw on it?
Great. What happened? Why do I smell purple? Don't worry about it. Say, Alex, do you remember your mother's name? Of course I do. It's...
Brenda?
BlueJay, what did you do to me? Nothing a little visit to today's sponsor, MyHeritage can't fix. MyHeritage is the leading platform for family history, and with that,
I'm going to skip past this one because if there's one thing we have found out in recent history about any ancestry site, especially ones that use DNA tests, don't do them. Your information will be sold. Because even if they don't want to sell it, and they say they won't, and they actually don't, as soon as they lose enough money that they need to be sold, guess which companies suddenly have all of your information and can use it to just jack up your prices because they suddenly found, we have these many things wrong with you and people like you. Oh, sorry, your premium just doubled. If you're lucky. That's not a joke, by the way. That actually was this entire year's controversy with some of these genetic heritage websites. Don't do them. They're legitimately horrible.
My link in the description or pinned comment below to get started. Thank you, MyHeritage, for sponsoring the video. The first step to starting any great soda company is crafting the perfect recipe. Just as Picasso first needs
Pablo, Diego, Jose, Francisco, de Paula, Juan, Nimpaux, Maria de los Remedios, Caprila de la Santimisa, Trinidad Ruiz y Picasso. The worst part is, I don't actually know if that's a joke or not. I'm probably butchering the name either way.
It's his spark of passion before putting brush to canvas. So too does an aspiring soda
What? Why is he painting in the nude? Actually, no, in hindsight, with a lot of his art, that actually makes perfect sense.
Entrepreneur first need his inspiration. Any back alley addle-pay can chuck a bunch of chemicals and fluids in a rusty jug of water and call it a soda.
See, this is a joke. I'm going to move out of the way. If you can't see it, they're saying Canada's Dry is made with rats and bones. It has way less flavor than that.
That's how we get ginger ale after all. But only a true artist can concoct a recipe that decisively takes off, encapsulating society in a glycogenic fervor that shapes the face of culture for generations. Take John Stith Pemberton, a wounded Confederate Civil War veteran who sought to cure his post-war morphine addiction by experimenting with various painkiller and toxin cocktails. A sentence that is littered with perhaps the most red flags I've ever seen.
Well, they're not wrong. Also, it's not even quite like that. Yeah.
Like many artists, Pemberton was inspired by another person's work, a French drink called Vin Mariani that he found to miraculously help with his morphine addiction, which makes
French tonic wine. Coca and Oh. Yeah, that would do it, but it's a wine, so it's French. Of course.
Sense because he was drinking cocaine. Coined a coca wine due to the drink's ingredients being just coke and wine, Vin Mariani was touted as a patent medicine and came on.
I mean, I knew original Coke was Coke, but I didn't realize it was the knockoff of the alcoholic Coke. The fact that it's French does not surprise me the slightest, though.
Off the heels of the booming popularity of coca leaves and all their lovely brain tickles. Having found a magical alternative to the morphine and heroin-based concoctions on the market, our little Confederate was determined to sell some coca wine of his own. I'm telling ya, this is gonna be huge. All I need is one of them patents. Well, this
is probably before Prohibition, but because those sentiments were still there, they were mostly beer drinkers, probably.
The thing, John, the point of a patent is that you can't just sell the same thing another person made. Oh, come on. The French aren't people. They most certainly...
I mean, I'm going to say something that's probably going to get me in trouble. Not the French part, but the entire patenting something someone else has made. Yeah, look at multiple companies who have tried to copyright rounded corners. Sometimes they fail. Only sometimes. There are a lot of things that should not be copyrighted or patented that still were because someone's like, I don't fucking care, just take it. And then they have it, and you're all fucked. So even though this is a good point, it's not always accurate, and not for the right reasons.
Certainly are. Really? Yes. Oh.
Now, I mean, if you were already rich and you can pay me, I would look the other way, but I would never actually say that out loud.
Well, it's not the same thing. It's not. No. Holy shit. To give it a little character of its own, Pemberton took this devil's dandruff cocktail and chucked in a few cola nuts for caffeine, calling it Pemberton's French Wine Coca, a quote, great and sure remedy for all nervous disorders. And he meant all of them, whether it was nerves in the brain or nerves in the bed, Pemberton's French Wine Coca was sure to set not only your mind straight, but your cock as well.
Gotta love those chickens. Yeah. Zero to Nova, Nintendo in a nutshell. Yeah, Nintendo's pretty bad about it, but they're not even close to the worst. And if you can say that honestly, that's pretty fucked up.
Now, did he come to these conclusions after rigorous experimentation in the...
I mean, if you've read anything about medications being made at this time period, in multiple different fields, not just human medications, but animal medications, it was, here's some snake oil. Be called that because they said they were making it with oil from snakes and it could do everything. And all of the time, it was bullshit. Yeah. The FDA would look like right at this and go, you know what? How much is your bank account? Okay, no, this is not actually legal.
Application of the scientific method? No, but he didn't need to waste time on petty cocaine research. Why, the famous Sigmund Freud made such claims himself. And when was he ever wrong or sexually attracted to his mom? So you're...
Yeah, the more you read about Freud, the more you're like, oh, you're projecting. I mean, to be fair, he did kickstart other people being so annoyed with him that they actually produced better results. So technically, it is his fault. Things got better. But you should probably phrase it as it's his fault, not his contribution.
You're telling me, wait, what was that last part? No time for that. Okay, so you're telling me that they just let adults get blasted off coke wine? No.
I mean, legal drinking ages weren't always a thing. And if you look at some of the things you're allowed to do right now for supplements, this is still kind of like it.
Well, of course not. The children could too, but don't worry, they were only recommended half the dose, and no one had a problem with this. Actually, Alex, some people did. In fact, coca wines were banned in Atlanta shortly after Pemberton's debut.
Atlanta?
Oh, thank God. As you should. After all, only sinners drink alcohol. So after Atlanta passed prohibition in 1885, Pemberton swapped out...
Really? 1885? I mean, I was kind of expecting it would turn out to be the prohibition that did it, but I wasn't expecting that. Mostly because Atlanta, really, of all the places.
The problematic alcohol for a boatload of sugar and called it Coca-Cola. Cola for the cola nut extract and Coca for the fact that it still very much so contained cocaine.
I didn't realize that was a nut. Huh. Unironically, I had no idea about that. I literally did not know.
Thus, an American staple was born. Great, well, cocaine is illegal, and I'm not a morphine-addicted Confederate, so I'm not sure how any of this applies to me. You may not have a physical wound to exploit yet, but according to your medical file that I bribed an intern for, you are just riddled with depression and anxiety. So let's just throw a Xanax in your soda and call it a day. Now that you've got...
For anyone wondering, yeah, that's exactly what that is. That is exactly what you think it is for the joke to fit.
Got a product to sell, it's time to move on to step 2 for starting a soda company. Propaganda, or as companies put it to make it more palatable, marketing. While you might think this is something only done by a company with an ad budget,
Oh, no, you can do it way easier. Also, can you imagine them selling a glass that small nowadays? No.
Marketing, or the act of getting one's message out there, is one that we all participate in on a daily basis. Even something as simple as thanking people for their support can come with an underlying motive, like maybe you want to praise the viewer as well. Advertising and communication are core parts of the human experience, and nobody understands this better than soda companies. Coca-Cola alone spends upwards of $5 billion a year on advertising, with every penny going towards making sure that no matter what you're doing, the only thing going through your little head is just how much better things would be with a cold glass of soda.
I was going to make a joke about how that's incredibly stupid. Then I realized Coke would be nice right now. And that actual thought just crossed my head. And all I can think is, oh, fuck, man. Yeah. We're watching this. I know this shit in the past. And I still think it would taste good. Yeah. It's like the mental dissonance that I know I'm experiencing right now is on full display. And there's probably a good chance that at least one person by now has got an ad for Coke. And yeah, it is kind of fucked up when you think about it.
That LeBron can jump that height? Well, that's because he drinks a Sprite. Calling gamers slurs online? Not without your lemon lime. Son
yeah.
Dying from epilepsy? Hey, that kind of rhymes with Pepsi. But getting people to simply know about your soda's existence isn't enough. You need to get them to want to buy it. And with today's pesky scientists publishing their stupid research on soft drinks and their contribution to obesity, diabetes, or whatever other nerd shit, soda executives face the unique challenge of convincing the broader public to willingly drink their poison. Hello, my good man. May I interest you in a scrumptious mouthful of my savory syrup? What? A glass of soda. Oh, no, thanks. I've heard it's not all that healthy. Nonsense, it's perfectly healthy, my friend. Well, my diabetic aunt just had to have her leg amputated after drinking 3 Mountain Dews a day. But have you considered that maybe it just did that? Her leg just did that. Yeah, I mean...
Going to say something that I know unironically will probably get me in trouble. And I don't mean that in the YouTube will find out, and more in the I'm sure that these people who are actually watching this are never going to suspect that I would say this. I mean, if you know anything about the sugar companies, not just the Coca-Cola, not just the soda, but the specific sugar companies and how hard they push sugar, they know the shit it's been doing. They also know that it's freaking addictive, man. Everything has sugar in it. Hell, Panera Bread is not allowed to be called bread in some places because of the sugar content within it. I mean, one of the sodas I've gone to, and again, just the carbonation alone is bad for your teeth, is just no sugar with a tiny bit of flavoring. It's basically just carbonated water. And even that is probably horrible for you, but it's still better than this. But yeah, that much sugar is still probably an underestimation of the actual amount you would need to put in. It's an ad. I'm not an ad. It's like a freaking animation. But if you really want to get into the really fucked up shit, everything we're seeing right now, all of this is not nearly as horrible as everything sugar companies will have done. They are worse. It's like when you find out why Chiquita Banana is one of those companies that should be closed down. It's... Corpo does evil shit is not just a Cyberpunk 2027 or 2077 thing. It's very documented.
Who's to say? Well, her doctor, for one. Funny you mentioned doctor. I got one right here. Hello, I am doctor. Really? What's your field? Doctor. Hey, doc, what do you think about my soda here? Is good. Make healthy and fertile. Oh, really? The wife...
And he's just described the entire thing of companies buying test results. This is a thing. There were doctors paid to say smoking was good for you, or the red wine is healthy for you, or the chocolate is healthy for you, or alcohol is healthy for you. Every single one of them did it. They're still out there. People still believe it. Look who's funding it. If it's funded by competing interests, interesting. You're never going to find it, though.
I have been trying for a while now. Does it help with low sperm counts? We can arrange for more semen. Ew, that skit was disgusting. Hey, don't be mad at me, Alex. Diet Pepsi isn't vegan, but the company won't say what animal product is in it. What else am I to assume, if not the worst? But anyway, when faced with combating the sugar
Can we all acknowledge that if that's the only part in there that doesn't make it vegan, I'm going to be happy, because there's probably so many worse things. If you know where a lot of fruit flavoring came from and which specific animal specific secretions from a specific part of their body come from, yeah, I'm trying not to think about either.
Bad narrative pushed by scientists, soda companies learned that the best way to inform was to misinform. So if researchers are going to research, how about we buy some of our own? Well, you can't just buy scientists to say whatever you want.
Yes, you easily can. In fact, you can pay a lot of people to say whatever you want. It would be ridiculous if people actually had to be held to a standard of not lying. There's a reason that people are, when they're on the stand, are told not to lie, and sometimes they are, sworn in. And then sometimes you don't bother enforcing it because it's just too much work. They've done too many lies. That's not a joke. That's actually so many legal cases. It's not even specifically indicative of a single person, because it happens so often that, yeah, we know you're lying, but at this point, it's just too much work to actually hold you to any of it.
No, of course not. We could never undermine the ethics of scientific research, but we can underline just how many millions of dollars we're giving to it. Both Coca-Cola,
and that's not even the case where they get real scientists to get the information they want and then just market it. Because if you have a graph showing one side's really high, one side's really low, and you cut one of them off at the knee and maybe one side is taller than the other, but they're measured differently, it's still the correct graph with correct information, but then not a single person looking at it is going to understand, especially if you then remove the numbers so no one can actually tell what the change is.
And Pepsi are notable for having shoveled millions of dollars down the gullets of universities and scientists to publish studies showing that the lack of exercise and not diet was responsible for obesity, a strategy expertly pulled out of Big Tobacco's playbook. Sure, they can't make scientists say exactly what they want, but let's just say a few
to put it general, it's like, study the effect of a lack of exercise. And another person, study the effect of sugar. And then compare them, and only publish the one that says what you want. And that's the most general sense.
Scrooge McDuck sacks of gold can have anyone saying nice things about you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you to our benefactor from Coca-Cola, Mr. Bernard, for organizing this conference. Yo! We're excited to report that after rigorous trials, we've been able to conclude that sugar does not meaningfully contribute to obesity. In fact, it's rather the lack of exercise that's the biggest culprit. And your confidence in your findings. Was it a small sample size? Our trials were quite extensive and were conducted across many species as well. Everything from a hawk to a rat. Fascinating. We've also found that consumers of the new limited edition Blueberry Blast Coca-Cola in stores now showed athletic improvements, and people that signed up for the subscription model using in stores now showed athletic.
They literally just threw it on. Oh my god. Also, this might sound like, wow, can you imagine this company doing something like this? Look up the Sackler family. Everything you see right here, it doesn't just apply to soda. It doesn't just apply to that. This is literally what happened when the Sackler family are fundamentally responsible for the entire opioid pandemic in the freaking country of America because of this exact thing on the screen right now. It's not even a joke. It's not even funny. It's literally the case. Also, they had the charges against them thrown out because they could pay off the judge. But that's completely beside the point, because they literally pay doctors by taking them to resorts and saying, hey, it'd be really nice if you just said nice things about how no one could get addicted to painkillers. That's not possible. These are addiction-free. That's the line. Read it. Read it. We'll take you to another full paid yacht conference that's work deductible, so you can take it as a tax write-off to do this while in Bora Bora or any place like Hawaii. And we'll take you here every year if you keep saying that, and we'll also pay you every time that someone buys our drug. Nothing I just said is a joke. All of it came out in actual court testimony, including them in emails disclosing that they knew all of this and knew it was lying, and nothing happened. Nothing of meaning happened because they made more money than the fines that they never ended up having to pay.
improvements, and people that signed up for the subscription model using code SCIENCE for 15% off were all able to dunk, even with, quote, the rim like all the way up. All the way up? Surely they still had to use the mini trampoline. No.
I hate this because this is a time-tested thing, and the examples I'm pulling up are just a small portion of it.
Oh my god. Furthermore, our research showed that executives of beverage companies last on average 15 minutes longer in bed and leave their partners 25.
Wait, they can actually last 16 minutes? Shit, that's actually impressive.
5% more satisfied than non-executives. Shit, that's crazy. I mean, hey, if the science man said it, you know. Even if some of these universities wanted to conduct completely unbiased research, according to one analysis, Coca-Cola in many instances reserved the right to control what scientific findings were published and even terminate studies early without reason. Well, they eventually removed the cocaine, right? So clearly they care somewhat about health.
No, it was probably too expensive. It's why new Coke was so horrible that when they changed the formulation to high fructose corn syrup, people thought it tasted better. Definitely not done intentionally.
Oh, trust me, Alex. Coca-Cola was more than happy to indefinitely let men, women, and children run amok thoroughly blitzed on cocaine. You know, so long as they weren't black. What? At the start of its lifetime, Coca-Cola was only sold at soda fountains in drugstores and pharmacies, where a man called a soda jerk would crank out some delicious syrup and mix it with.
I am 5 years old, and everything he just said is trying to make me laugh more than I really should. Oh yeah, just don't you love it when a guy's jerking out soda?
Carbonated water, or jerk it into a cup, if you will. One of your fine Coca-Colas, my good sir. No problem. Let me just jerk one out real quick. Excellent. Say, do you gentlemen do catering, by the way? It depends. Depends on what? Whether it's within 100 feet of a school or playground. Oh.
Yeah. And at this time period, the answer would be the more close it is, the better they would like it.
Children don't make good customers, then, I take it. Well, that's just what the judge thinks. Ah! So, can I have my soda? What? Oh, yeah, coming right up. Soda fountain exclusivity remained the norm up until 1899 when Coca-Cola was finally convinced to start bottling their drink, especially once they learned they could make them all sexy-like with childbearing hips. Since OnlyFans wasn't a thing yet, sales went through the roof, which, on one hand, was great because the drink can now reach a wider audience, but also terrible because the drink can now reach a wider audience. You people are trying to take our culture. This is our drink. No, man, I just like the taste. Oh, okay. Then why didn't y'all drink it before? But not Rodney too. What's your excuse? I just never got around to it. Now that minorities had access to the drink.
Wait, what did it say?
Just never got around to it.
Oh! I just read the extra sign.
Now that minorities had access to the drink, middle-class whites became terrified that Coca-Cola was churning out coked-up African-American lunatics, with Southern newspapers even running with headlines stating, quote, black cocaine fiends were raping white women, only they didn't say black. Naturally, Coca-Cola, who had hitherto been seen as an intellectual drink for well-
And it was made by a Southern Confederate, so that kind of makes sense.
Off whites, panicked at the prospect of being associated with skewy minorities. But that's not something a little rebrand can't fix. So before it was ever even banned, Coca-Cola removed cocaine from their drink, not for legal reasons, nor for health reasons, but to cleanse their image of any association with black people. Don't get too worried, Alex. They didn't stick to their anti-black policy forever. They would later make up for their bigoted past by embracing the black community. See,
because if there's one thing that's true, even horrible principles that you should be punched in the face for mean nothing in the face of money. Yay! That's so enlightened and happy. They're
not racist. They've got Bill Cosby handing out Cokes now. Just make sure they're not opened for...
Oh! I was unaware of that! For anyone wondering and hasn't followed the news on this one, I assume Cosby liked the original style more. Oh! Goddamn.
Now, when you see a company openly avoid African Americans, exploit and benefit from South African apartheid, and land
I would assume it's Tesla.
Themselves the biggest racial discrimination settlement in American history.
2000? Damn.
There is probably one thought that immediately comes to mind. That's right, an open market. And who else was better positioned to capitalize on so many unwanted customers than Pepsi? Always nipping at Coca-Cola's heels, Pepsi decided to embrace these neglected customers with open pockets. So much so that Pepsi even opened a black markets division in the 1940s solely focused on targeting the demographic. Only they didn't say black. This division focused on advertisements showing black Americans in a positive light, avoiding stereotypes, and attacking Coke for their anti-black discrimination and support for segregationist politicians. The push was a huge success, resulting in black Americans being 3 times more likely to buy Pepsi over Coke, all while the marketing team received discrimination themselves from their co-workers and even threats from the KKK. We warned you, Pepsi. This was y'all's doing. String 'em up, boys.
Nice. They're putting up the test.
Wait. Demography targeted advertising.
Oh, that just amuses me. It's always good to see people in white hoods get beaten with baseball bats. It makes the world better.
Wasn't exclusive to race, however. Mountain Dew, for example, got its start making fun of poor Appalachians with the subtle mascot, Willie the Hillbilly, promoting the soda with his titular catchphrase.
Okay, 1. Yeah. 2. They still use this logo. It's still around. I've seen it. It's in stores now. They brought it back. Although, considering I lived in Pennsylvania, technically that's part of most of Appalachia. They're not wrong.
Mountain Dew. It'll tickle your innards. What the hell does that mean? Who knows?
Okay. You know, I've heard of some really dumb takes. It'll tickle your innards. Unless we're talking adult toys, I don't see any other reason that phrase could ever be used other than you got a really interesting and suggestive colonoscopy. If it's tickling, though, there's going to be issues.
Perhaps it's a whimsical way of pointing out that your bloodstream will never have more glucose in it. Or maybe it was just more catchy than it'll destroy your tooth enamel and skyrocket diabetes statistics. But either way, it sure is an interesting choice of words when talking about the people known for incest. That's disgusting. Well, it seems they thought so too. But that's not something a little rebrand can't fix. So they soon replaced it with, get that barefoot feeling drinking Mountain Dew.
Oh my God, really? I'm not sure which is worse here, that this is the dumbest thing I can imagine, or that there's probably a significant proportion of the human population right now, and some people who might be watching this going, you know, maybe they had a point. This old advertising kind of hits where I want it to be. I think we should all go back to being barefoot. Give me the feet. Oh my God.
Oh, and that's supposed to be better?
This I mean,
is a BlueJay video, Alex. Things don't get better. While marketing is important, you won't always have control over your soda's narrative, so part of the propaganda biz is battling misinformation. But you just showed
more misinformation.
How Big Soda literally peddles misinformation. You're a corporation in the 21st century, Alex. Misinformation is whatever you want it to be. But regardless, there are times where these companies have been faced with actual falsehoods, some of which you may have heard yourself. Take, for example, the urban legend that claims a disgruntled Pepsi employee infected batches of the soda with his own HIV-contaminated blood. It's a
yeah, but that wouldn't be able to survive because the carbonation alone would be enough of a aerosol to break it down. HIV doesn't survive outside of blood very long. Now, I mean, if they said some of the other shit, you can do a lot of shit, but that's not one of them.
that's made the rounds multiple times over the past few decades. It even got to the point where the CDC themselves released a statement to debunk the rumor. No, there's absolutely no merit to this story. Of all the bodily fluids we've analyzed in Diet Pepsi, none contained any trace of
Out of all the... I'm sorry, I want to hear that again.
The story of all the bodily fluids we've analyzed in Diet Pepsi, none contained any...
Oh, I love it. It's like, don't worry, we've only put bodily fluids that do not have AIDS. Syphilis? We haven't checked that one yet.
Any trace of HIV. Bodily fluids? Plural? I mean, we said it's not vegan. Another time in 2004, farmers in India began buying Coke and Pepsi en masse to use on their crops. By spraying the soda on their cotton and chili fields, the sugar would attract ants who would then feed on the larvae of insects that were damaging the harvest, which makes these colas pretty great at pest control.
I'm assuming then they also maybe ate through some of the roots and poisoned the plants?
Almost like a pesticide, which is not a word you want associated with your beverage. Hey, can you pass me the pesticide? Yeah, here. No. Tell me you've not been using this. Of course I've been using the pesticide. No, Oddvic, this is Red Bull. Do you have any idea what you've done? Rumors spread throughout the region that Pepsi and Coca-Cola were pesticides, requiring the companies to put in a lot of work to dispel these narratives. So it wasn't all that helpful when a 2006 investigation showed that both sodas had, quote, unacceptably high levels of pesticide, resulting in a ban. The Indian government would later say that these tests were flawed, but rumors are kind of like homeless people. They always stick around where you don't want them, no matter how much you try to extinguish them. Misinformation can also be spread in the form of frivolous lawsuits. Such was the case in 2009 when a man sued Pepsi for finding a whole dead mouse in his can of Mountain Dew. Now, whether or not this was actually true or just some Tom and Jerry shenanigans in the soda factory isn't important.
I wouldn't believe it if only because those things probably don't have the space for a mouse. Now, I mean, if it was an older one with his hand bottled, I completely could believe it then.
Really important is deciding how to respond.
Also, to bottom there, Idiocracy had a point. I mean, my personal opinion is Idiocracy is looking like a best possible outcome for the world, so probably.
This legal attack. And if we just take a look at our fancy decision generator here, Pepsi could either A, quietly settle the matter outside of court to avoid media attention, B,
although this one is pretty frequently used by corporations if they don't really want to make attention of it, because Streisand effect.
Make arguments about the quality of their safety standards throughout their facilities, or C, utilize experts to scientifically prove that a mouse couldn't possibly have been found in the soda, as the acidic concoction would have dissolved the body into a, quote, jelly-like substance in a matter of 30 days.
I mean, I've always heard the story about some cleaning crews bringing industrial grade Coca-Cola bottles to crime scenes to get bloodstains off wrecks. Yeah, quietly settle the matter was the correct answer here. B, no, they would never do that. And C, that's worse. That is so much worse. Mostly because if it's ever jellied, you can think, oh, I got a rat.
No way they publicly said jelly-like substance. Of course not, Alex. They actually said more than that, adding, quote, by 30 days of exposure to the fluid, all of the mouse's structures will have disintegrated to the point the structures, excepting possibly a portion of the tail, will not be recognizable. Really adding some colorful imagery to the soda that sports the catchphrase, it'll tickle your innards. Pepsi would continue to...
Looks like it was accurate. They will tickle your innards. And if it stays there long enough, your outards. Yep. Yeah, I knew this video would be a lot of things I wasn't expecting, and somehow this is so much worse than I feared.
Bring in experts to present arguments that Mountain Dew was actually more corrosive than your average soda. And while that might have been helpful from a legal standpoint, arguing that your soda, which already looks like toxic waste, is strong enough to dissolve cute animal corpses doesn't necessarily bode well for the market.
Huh. You know, I think we just found the problem with everyone trying to think about how to kill someone and hide the body. You don't need industrial grade acids. Get a Coke. Get enough of them and just go out. No one's going to look and think about anything. If you buy about a couple dozen gallons of industrial grade acid, if you get all the hydrochloric, people are like, okay, well, something's going on. If you get a bathtub worth of Coca-Cola, they're going to be like, oh, he has a party. No one will say a word. I hate this.
Marketing department. Thankfully, to my knowledge, Pepsi's experts didn't provide an experimental study for the court, but that didn't stop the internet's experts from conducting experiments of their own. I'll link to one such.
Yep. Also, Tabanator. Stomach acid is stronger than Coca-Cola or Pepsi. Yep. But that's all because it's pure hydrochloric acid. The only mediating is that our stomach is lined in mucus, which is really good at getting around really nasty chemicals. And there's also people designing air purifier and using custom-made mucus. So sneezing on an air purifier might actually be a way to help at this point.
Video in the description, and I do mean from the most sincere pits of my cold, dead, wretched heart to truly watch at your own risk.
Also, it's about air. You aren't putting anything in your body that's more acidic than what you already have. That's the thing, though. You're putting a lot of something acidic into parts of your body above the stomach that it can't handle. Once it's in the stomach, oh yeah, you're fine. But the mouth, the gums, the teeth, the throat, the esophagus, all of that is not supposed to be exposed to acid. It's why when you have issues with acid coming up your throat, it's a problem that could eat away at some significant portions and is very painful. That's not supposed to be where it is. Once it's in the stomach, though, it's not nearly as bad as what's already there. But there's a good bit of you prior to that.
But hey, if Pepsi ever wants to truly embrace their hillbilly origins and release Mountain Dew Rat Float, at least they have a recipe up their sleeve.
Considering how many people were obsessed with jellied stuff, I could see this working. Not even as a joke, I literally could see this being a thing.
Or maybe that's just how they make Code Red. But how about we take a quick break from marketing to talk about another vital sector of the soda business, scaling and product improvement. To meet your new demand, you're going to need to increase your production. And to keep that demand growing, you're going to need to improve your products. Now,
by making it smaller while looking bigger somehow.
Seeing this self-fulfilling cycle, you're probably wondering, when does one become satisfied with their product and level?
That's the thing about consumables. You don't.
Of demand. But now you're already making your first mistake, as the only question that should be on your mind is how to increase shareholder value. In 1996, unionists for a Coca-Cola bottling plant in Colombia were working hard lobbying to improve the wages and living conditions of the workers. Now, you have a business to operate and profits to populate, so when faced with this crisis, how would you retaliate? That's right, Alex. Why increase a wage that you have to pay every single week when bullets are a one-time fee? So the Coke plant sent a Colombian death squad to kill union leader Isidro Gil, burn down the union hall, and force the workers to resign at gunpoint. Now that's thinking with shareholder value.
And yes, what I mentioned earlier about how their defense in court was, this wasn't America, you go and got jurisdiction. Yep. This is the part I knew about already.
To the 8th trade union leader to be assassinated by Colombian death squads at Coke facilities, igniting the Stop Killer Coke campaign that saw schools and universities terminating their contracts with the soda company. But that's not something a little rebrand can't fix. So Coke went balls to the wall cleaning their image, scrubbing search engines and websites of any mention of the activist campaign, and pushing the results of a flawed UN investigation that notably only analyzed current working conditions of the bottling plants. You know, after all the death squad. Wow,
it's like people are really happy to be back to work when the guns aren't pointed at them anymore. And they know that if they aren't happy at work, they will be pointed again. It's funny how not being murdered is a really good incentive.
I mean, everything looks great. I think we're done here. Oh yeah, wait, what's behind this door? Renovations. I see. And what about this double-tapped gentleman right here? Technically, he died yesterday. Excellent, excellent. Sir, we need to report this. Daniel, read the top of your form for me. Inspection of current working conditions. Exactly. Now tell me, is this deceased gentleman currently bleeding out? No. So do we report this? No, sir. No, we do not. However, your attitude is currently affecting my working conditions, so we will be reporting this to HR. The events would also spark an international lawsuit against Coca-Cola for their responsibility in the kidnapping, torture, and murder of union activists in Colombia. After which, the hitman fired 10...
Colombia, when you realize the drug cartels, the coffee cartels, and yes, they should be treated that way, are only one of a trifecta. I should be telling jokes about this. I should be making dumb off-the-comment remarks. I shouldn't be thinking that this is still being too nice. I hate this so much.
Shots into Mr. Gill's heart, groin, and head, killing him on the spot. And does the defense have an argument? Yes, Your Honor. Has the court considered that maybe his head just did that? Coke would end up winning the case due to a lack of evidence, and both they and the bottling plant would forever deny any connections with the Colombian death squads. So I guess they killed unionists, forced workers to resign, and even murdered the widow of Isidro Gil, who continued to protest her husband's death, leaving their 2 children orphaned because they felt like it. I mean, obviously that can't all be a coincidence. How can they possibly treat these people this way? Hey.
Money! SpongeBob warned us with Mr. Krabs. We didn't realize he was the best option possible.
Hey, when you're outside the US, you can get away with a lot with those...
Outside. That's funny.
So you don't view as people. And inside the US, the same can be said with those who literally aren't people. Animal testing has been a hot button...
At least. This is still very optimistic.
Issue since as far back as the 1800s, with corporations and scientists alike selecting, injecting, and dissecting practically every one of God's creations. And Coca-Cola, ever seeking the perfection of their craft, decided why not try their hand at this animal testing strat. But where a cosmetic company might test their lipstick on a rabbit to examine skin sensitivity, how might Coca-Cola test their soda on a chimp to examine sweetness reception? Okay, hear me out.
Please don't say they're going to cut the head off and stick probes into the brain. Please don't say they're just going to do brain surgery. Oh god.
Now, Coca-Cola decided that the optimal way to test sweetness was to take a chimpanzee, cut open its face, and study the nerve impulses that are used in the perception of sweet tastes. Now, is it ethical to skin animal faces Hannibal Lecter style to find out if their soda is finger looking good? That's right, it doesn't matter, as the integrity of the primate's face has no impact on shareholder value.
I was unaware of that. I thought it'd just be probes into the brain. Nope, they decided who needs a face. Oh god, I think I'm gonna be sick.
But regardless, public pressure resulted in Coca-Cola pledging to cease all unnecessary animal testing in
2007? Also unnecessary. Which means, well, the chimp face was completely necessary. They're still able to do it because that's a very big, well, we thought it was necessary in the first place, so nothing changes.
2007, but they still have employees. A little bitter.
I mean, yeah, I fully wouldn't be surprised about this. Because at least it wasn't human. Would it surprise you if it was? You know, I meant that as a joke, but then I realized it probably isn't.
Just ask me. John, please sedate the monkey. As you can see, by following the gods of profit, the world is your oyster, Alex. Sure, your manufacturing might decimate local water supplies for impoverished communities.
Yeah, Coke's horrible about this. And they also do own some fresh spring water companies that are legitimately some of the absolute most predatory and horrible things on the entire planet. Yeah. Chiquita Banana might be one of the absolute worst ones out there, but there's a lot of competition. Because here's the thing I'm going to say that will piss people off, because if it doesn't, oh God. Everything we've seen so far is horrible, inhumane, and legitimately just terrible, and it doesn't make the top 5 in the last century. Yeah. Yeah.
But making sure people have water doesn't increase shareholder value. Selling it back to them in a bottle does.
Yeah, this is probably worse than everything else.
This feels more and more like Nazi Germany shit. Alex, how dare you besmirch the good name of Coke? Calling the delicious bottled freedom that is Coca-Cola a Nazi brand is completely uncalled for. That would be Fanta, now that you've got your production.
Seriously? I always thought Fanta was Mexican. I don't know why. Maybe it's much more Argentinian now. Of course, that makes perfect sense.
Scaling to greater and greater outputs, so too must you market on an ever-growing scale. And sure, this can easily be done with stuff like stadium advertising, product placement, releasing iPhone apps that objectify women and teach pickup lines to help you get laid, etc.
The fuck? Also, I don't even want to know what the twist. That's no. Also, Croc, you mentioned, just for your information, what you did to me, Airier. Last hour, I was playing Team Fortress 2 with stream in the background thanks to you. You're welcome. I hate to see whatever this video is doing to you. Also, earlier I mentioned that I was starting to crave a Coke because the marketing was so strong. Yeah, I don't feel that way anymore. This is so much worse than I already thought.
But nothing quite scratches the fun itch like sweepstakes. Do you ever watch Charlie and the Chocolate Factory while slurping down a cola and wish that you too could find yourself a golden ticket amongst the caramely syrup slithering its way into your mouth? Well, apparently some freak at Coca-Cola did, as this was essentially the premise for the Magican promotion in 1990. A Magican was a disguised Coke can, but instead of containing diabetes juice, it was stuffed with a spring-loaded mechanism that popped out a cash prize or coupon. However, to make sure their secret Magicans not only looked, but also felt like a can of Coke, they needed to partially fill them with some kind of liquid. So what liquid did Coca-Cola decide to put in their Coca-Cola promotional can disguised to look like Coca-Cola?
Please, just be water or Coca-Cola, nothing horrible. Please don't make it something really poison. Oh god, this is going to be bad. Oh no.
That's right, chlorinated water. This liquid was put in a sealed area of the can, but just in case it leaked, they added a foul-smelling chemical to the water to ensure people didn't drink it. As if the Go-Go Gadget money dispenser in your face wasn't enough. I'm sure you can see where this is going, Alex. They drank.
Oh my fuck, I don't... Really? I don't, but that just... how? My cat is meowing whenever I speak right now. Hey, Tris. Oh, she's being adorable.
The liquid. They drank the liquid, yes. Tons of these Magicans were plagued with technical difficulties, ranging from mechanism jams to faulty seals. This resulted in soggy Benjamins, people drinking them, and one kid even going to the hospital after drinking the no-no water. Terrified of making their customers unhappy, but more importantly, of any bad publicity or lawsuits, Coke immediately pushed a big advertisement campaign with the headline, "Take a Good Look," warning people that some cans were faulty and not to drink any fluids they found in their money-stuffed Magicans. Yeah, we get pretty busy, so honestly, when I really have to go, I just use one of the cans and store them down here for later. Mike, did you see any cans down here? Oh, the Mountain Dew? I put on belt. No, this is a Coke facility, Mike. Oh my god. So...
Wait, what was that last one? Was that the rat soda? I think that was the rat soda.
Dew? I put on belt. No, this is a Coke facility, Mike.
Yep, they put the Mountain Dew rat soda on there. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
How is there always more?
Due to a manufacturing defect, a very small number of Coke cans may or may not
be non-vegan. That's one way to accurately describe it. There was only a few human parts.
Contain a foul-smelling but harmless liquid that should just not be ingested.
And it's still apparently safer than what they chose to put in there in reality as opposed to the joke.
So just look before you drink, okay? I take it this is about the promotional Magicans that you probably filled with some sort of liquid to weigh them down, and this manufacturing defect you refer to must be a partition failure that resulted in this liquid, which was made to intentionally smell bad so as to discourage consumption, contaminating the rest of the can.
Yes.
Yeah. Their efforts would be in vain, however, as the promotion was cut short after a measly 3 weeks. Which, is anyone really surprised that the, "Hey, please don't drink the bad liquid" campaign didn't work? I mean, it's just like those little silica packs that say don't eat on them. Of course that's not gonna work.
this is dumb, but also people will definitely try and eat it. It's why they're always in the pack.
Like, what are they hiding? Clearly something delicious. You all should eat those. Right now. I mean it. Pause the video and go into your parents' room this instant and dig through their dresser. Pepsi.
Okay, how many people in the chat below, or not chat, how many people in the first comment did that? Friends, being the most emotional build-up to jokes. BlueJay. Nope, the first comment was not, I ate the silica pack, and it was not as good as I expected.
Also ran a promotion in 1990 called Cool Cans, where instead of whimsical and convoluted spring contraptions, they just wrote codes at the bottom of the cans. However, even Pepsi wouldn't be safe from the controversy bug, as apparently if you stacked 2 of these cans on top of each other in just the right way, the word sex would appear and shock the delicate hearts of proper God-fearing Christians across America, while being one of the stupidest controversies I've ever heard.
I mean, there was an entire thing during the satanic panic in the 90s where people were just not allowed to see pictures of the devil because that would be horrible. And you can move that to wherever you want for just dumb people doing dumb things.
Imagining the worst case scenario for some parent genuinely outraged at this obscure coincidence is very funny to me. Another, Mommy, another. All right, sweetie, but this is your last one. Yay! Mother, what is the meaning of this text? Are these glyphs vulgar? What have you taught me, Mother? A few years later, Pepsi would run a much bigger promotion in the Philippines called
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that having the word sex there wasn't a thing they would advertise because some of their marketing definitely fits with it.
Pepsi Number Fever, where special bottles of soda were marked with a number under the cap. Each night, Filipino TV would broadcast a winning number with prizes ranging anywhere from 100 to 1 million pesos. That's roughly 16 to 160,000 gumballs at the time. Therefore, not only could people satisfy their sin of gluttony, but they could check off greed with the lottery as well. Packaging 2 vices in one? Now that's thinking with shareholder value. The 1 million peso grand prize was worth roughly 611 times the average Filipino monthly salary, and only 2 bottle caps would have the winning number. With the magnitude of the promotion, a mania had engulfed the Philippines.
Yeah, that would do it. If only 2 of them had it, but there's way more sold for it. They probably made a lot of money, and I'm assuming some people got killed for their bottles.
Kids scavenged through trash, people fought over caps in the streets, and 2 Pepsi salesmen were even murdered over a disputed cap.
Damn.
So I guess you could say Pepsi wasn't the only pop in their stomachs. Get it? Like a gun? No, I got it. It just wasn't a good joke. Yeah, well, you know, they can't all be bangers. Just tell the story. Right. But everything would change on the evening.
Oh. Also, what was that, Croc? Talk about satanic panic. Here it was different, and as in 97, satanists killed a few people ritualistic in a World War II bunker. So it was more of be aware of them. Croc, that is kind of horrible. And I hate that my first thought is, if that happened now in America, no one would even realize it. Yeah. Kind of sucks.
Of May 25th, where a whopping 70% of the entire country's population tuned into the evening news when the magical grand prize number was read 349. Somewhere in the Philippines, 2 people's lives were changed forever. Filled with the ecstasy of world-altering luck, the 2 winners rushed out their doors and were shocked to bump into each other just outside. What were the odds that not only were these 2 people winners, but next-door neighbors as well? In fact,
were they also employed at a Coke factory and were maybe the ones who were deciding who would win this? Because that's why McDonald's stopped doing its stuff like this, because that's what happened.
In fact, what were the odds that a 3rd winning neighbor rushed outside too? And a 4th? And a 5th? And turns out 800,000 people had the winning number, with an estimated cumulative value of their caps being worth a staggering $32 billion US.
It's a good thing Coca-Cola definitely made good on their advertisement and didn't do anything to maybe not follow through, because that would be horrible. Can you imagine if that was the thing that happened? That would be absolutely uncalled for, and I would never expect to hear that in the next 5 seconds.
Obviously, this wasn't supposed to happen. Apparently, a computer glitch coupled with an extension of the promotion resulted in 800,000 additional caps being printed with the number 349, which they, I guess, forgot was already going to be a winning number. Oops, silly mistake. Better tell that to the hundreds of thousands of Filipinos storming the bottling plant for their money. Even though Pepsi tried to retroactively change the winning number, the clusterfuck of this lottery was only just beginning. They decided to give the people with the 349 number 500 pesos as a gesture of goodwill.
Nope.
But going from winning enough money to buy a Corvette to barely enough to afford one in GTA, understandably still had.
You have to pay money for cars in GTA? Just bought the fucking game. Why would you even bother?
People pissed. Protests erupted around factories. Pepsi trucks going to and from were flanked by armed guards. Stones were thrown at Pepsi managers. Bomb threats were made. Death threats were gave. Trucks were overturned, stoned, and burned. Chaos and lawsuits ensued long after the incident, but it took a...
The easiest thing they could do is like, okay, we made a mistake. We'll pay up. It'll be a while because that's a lot more money than we had, but we'll make good on it. And they would have great publicity, but that would cost money, and that would never happen.
Year for the peak of the violence to occur. In one incident, an improvised explosive was thrown at a Pepsi truck, killing a 5-year-old and school teacher. In another instance, a grenade was thrown into a warehouse, killing 3 Pepsi employees. After what some say was the biggest marketing disaster in history, Pepsi's market share...
The biggest marketing disaster in history yet. I'm sure we'll find a way to make it worse.
Plummeted. Trust in the brand was destroyed, but most importantly, millions of dollars was lost. And some people died. So, Alex, after what you've learned here, and from all your lessons before, how would you address this crisis? Wow, I mean, I suppose the best thing to do here would be to admit fault and bite the bullet. We probably couldn't afford paying all the winnings, but...
They're probably going to make up something. And actually, let me work this one out. What would I say is the most fucked up response they could possibly do, knowing that whatever the actual response is probably going to be worse than whatever I say? Claim that it was actually rigged. Those were not the winning numbers in the first place. And our representatives who said so were being paid off because they were trying to rig the system, and everyone else was lying somehow. Yep, that's definitely way too actually reasonable. And even though a blatant lie is a way to get out of it. I wonder what they actually did that's going to be so much worse.
Maybe we can apologize, invest in community infrastructure, and compensate families for losses and damage.
Sue them?
No. What you should have said is, that's not something a little rebrand can't fix. Disasters are seasonal and memories are fickle. Just puke out a few...
They're not wrong. There's a reason people usually say if you wait 3 weeks, everyone forgets whatever happened. Because it seems to work.
Commercials, flash some bright colors, bada bing, bada boom, market share recovered 2 years later. As for the lawsuits, one reached the Supreme Court of the Philippines after over a decade of legal battles, resulting in the 2 magic words that can cure any executive's ED, not liable. So, Alex, now that you're a proper wolf in sheep's clothing, are you ready to start making millions and paying off that medical debt? I guess, but how do I get the money for the manufacturing equipment, patent attorneys, and workplace rent? Ah, well, that's actually step 0. Phone a friend. For money. Well, I guess I could reach out to my dad. Uh-oh. Looks like you still need to claim that...
They're doing the freaking ad again. Oh my God. I mean, it's good to bring it up, but
Might have been moved up a decade or 2. What? The history of soda companies. 4 out of 10 stars.
Yep. I knew this would piss me off, and I was not disappointed. Not exactly pleased either, for obvious reasons of literally the entire last video, but not surprised or disappointed. Well, maybe a little surprised about some of the things, but we're gonna not ever think about them because they're terrifying and I don't like it. Yep. Well, my faith in humanity is I was going to say ruined, but let's be completely fair. I've been on the internet more than 5 minutes. My faith in humanity has been reassessed as being completely accurate so far. It is exactly as bad as I thought. If you don't mind, I'm going to go and look at something safe and less morally dubious. Alcohol. When that isn't a joke, I think it's time for more of it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm going to make a point never to think about this again. This was painful, informative, well done, well-resourced, truthful in ways I wish it wasn't. And I still hate myself for enjoying the fact that it's actually interesting information, because it's also one of those, this is cool. Fuck, reality sucks. And Zero, bang. Thanks, man. Because you put the last minute donation. Thank you very much. I will put up a poll because we got so close next week whenever we do the next stream for you guys to choose it, but we'll do that then. In the meantime, I need to go not be sober. That seems like the appropriate response right now. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys in the next one, which hopefully won't be any of this. Yeah. Adios.